Now we're back at Gotham Gymnastics. We're going on now with our day. I hope you guys had an awesome time with Coach Edgar. Really good workout he gave you. Now we're going to have Marla, physical therapist, going through injury prevention, right? After this, I want to remind you guys that we have Nick Rudak, okay, international consultant. It's going to be an awesome talk between us here, okay? So let's wait for Marla to shoot me a little comment here, and then we're going to go from there. So you guys have some time to get some water, quick water, because I know we just finished there. This is going to be an interesting workout over here. Hey Marla, how are you?
Hi, good, you see me, okay.
Yeah, can you see me?
Yes, hi everyone.
Hey, how are you?
Good, thanks so much for tuning in today.
Very good. I mean, we had a workout now with Coach Edgar. He went through some leg work, and I'm sure they're exhausted, but we're going to keep going with you, all right?
Great.
Good. Do you want to tell us a little bit of what you're planning to do? And first of all, talk about yourself a little bit.
Sure. So I was a gymnast, elite international gymnast, went to Stanford University on a scholarship, and had a lot of injuries. Unfortunately, I had about 8 surgeries, so I had to battle that throughout my gymnastics career, but never gave up. And now I'm able to give back to the community by being a physical therapist and treat inside gymnastics gyms. So I'm actually literally there during the practice on the side by the vault runway, treating girls for physical therapy, injuries, and also for injury prevention.
Very good. And what are you going to be doing for us today?
So actually, we're going to talk about how everybody now has some time to focus on healing, to focus on getting their injuries better, and even if you don't have an injury, to focus on some areas that you can work on so that you don't get injured in the future. And we'll walk through some exercises and just give you a little bit of a routine to do every day.
Very good. You have about 30 minutes there. We're following you.
Great.
All right.
Great.
You can start. Thank you.
Okay. Perfect.
Let's go.
Will it be full screen?
You can
will
go.
it be full screen or no? Can you, if I stand up, will you be able to see me?
Yeah.
Oh, so you won't see me if I stand up or no?
No, we can't see you.
Okay, so I might have to lift that up. I thought I had a full screen there. Okay, sorry about that. Let me see how I can get this lifted up.
It's all good online TV.
Okay. Maybe a little higher this way. Okay, well, so the first thing I wanted to show you, but I think it might be a little challenging because I can't get the full screen. I really wanted to talk about posture, because to me, that's one of the most important preventative exercises you can do. So on a daily basis, gymnasts tend to stand with a little bit of rounded shoulders, a little bit of rolled back, a little bit of arched low back. So it tends to be, I mean, I can't get a standing view. Maybe I can get it out here. All right, well, okay.
There we go.
So I don't think you can see all of me. I'll go on my knees. So it tends to be really, really important that right now, as you're home and you have a lot more time, that it's a big focus on how you're standing. And why I say that is because the way you stand, the muscles you activate, the position of your body is going to determine your handstand, your round off back handspring, and your big skills. So if you practice every day the best posture you can possibly have, you're going to actually have a better handstand when you go and do a handstand. So some aspects of posture, and I recommend all of you guys stand in front of a mirror for 1 full minute, 10 times a day, and practice good posture. So the first is shoulders. This should not be rounded forward. They should not look like they're coming in front of your body. Your shoulders should be in line with your hips and with your body, and of course with your chin. So all of this, your head, your shoulders, and your hips should be all aligned. You really want to open that up. Get those shoulders back, squeezing a little bit of these muscles back here. You don't want your ribs to be out. Very important for gymnasts. If your ribs are out, it means you get your motion from your ribs and not your shoulder flexibility. So you really want to maintain your ribs down and controlled, nice tight core, shoulders back, chin tucked. You want to engage your abdominal muscles, make sure that is nice and tight. So that's that belly button to spine. In your hips, you want to make sure you're not a little arched back here. Keep your pelvis nice and neutral. Don't stand with that hyperextended knees and butt out. You want to have hips under, soft knees, and a tight core here, all right? For those feet, you want to make sure that you have a little bit of arches in those feet. They shouldn't be flat and rolled in. Very important. All of these positions of your body affects the rest of your chain. If you have your feet inward like this with the flattened arches, it's going to affect the position of the knees, give you more knee injuries, more hip injuries, all the way up through the back. All right? So every day, I want you to focus on those things in front of a mirror. Get the best posture you can do standing, position, work on that, and then try to get your arms overhead and do a standing handstand. All right? Again, these ribs, you shouldn't see this like that. If you see it like that, you're probably the kid who falls over on the handstand on bars a lot because you're going through your ribs and you're not so controlled in there. So you want ribs down, shoulders in a nice handstand position, and work on posture. So definitely every day, a minute 10 times a day, focus on your posture. If you can have open shoulders, you'll have less shoulder injuries. Those rounded shoulders will get you pinching, and that's where you get your tendonitis. It's where you get your labral tears, your rotator cuff tears. So really, really work on that for me, all right? So now we're gonna go through a few exercises and a few stretches that will help your posture and will help your gymnastics and will help you prevent injuries. So first and foremost, like I said earlier, a lot of you have a little bit of rounded upper backs. It's because we do hollow all the time and we forget to get out of that hollow. So I want you guys in the morning or in the middle of the day, find your foam roller and you're gonna do upper back thoracic extension. So you're just gonna go ahead, keep those ribs down. I never want the ribs out. Ribs down, hands behind your head, and go all the way back, extend, and come back up. Okay, you can do about 15 of those. You can move to different parts of the upper back. Having upper back mobility is so important. If you do a bridge and you don't have a lot of upper back mobility, it all goes to your low back. That means that you have like a hinge in that low back, and it puts you at risk for all of those spondylolisthesis, spondylolysis, or just in general back problems. Really important that you have upper back mobility. So go ahead and do about 15 upper back extensions, all right? Then go on over and get yourself rolling out your lats. Gymnasts have incredibly tight lats. Something that you want to make sure every day you're rolling out. Again, better shoulder mobility means better bridges, better handstands, and less injuries, okay? Great. All right. So next, what I want you guys to do, and all of this stuff might seem simple, but it's really important. You're gonna lie down, one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly, and you're gonna practice breathing. Especially now with everything going on, you know, the stress and everything, you wanna learn how to breathe appropriately. So first is first, a lot of people tend to breathe with their chest. Your chest should not move. Let me come a little closer. You should have one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly, and all your breathing should come from your diaphragm. So when you breathe in, your belly goes up. When you breathe out, the belly goes down. Like a balloon right here. This doesn't move. Practice that. I find gymnasts have a really challenging time doing this. The more upper chest breathing that occurs, the less you're using the diaphragm muscles, the core muscles, everything that attaches nicely around here to give you a good core set. You want to make sure you can breathe in and breathe out, okay? So try that about 15 to 30 times. Let's do that 3 times a day, okay? Next, you want to make sure that you have a core. Gymnasts tend to have beautiful six-packs. So that means that these muscles here, awesome. Boom, boom, boom. You guys rock. But that's not the muscle that attaches to the spine. The one that attaches to the spine is your deep transverse abdominis, and that actually gives you a nice core set and it protects the low back. So we tend to overcompensate and utilize this muscle for everything, but don't utilize the nice controlled lower, deeper muscles. So to prevent injuries, you want to make sure that you're able to activate that core muscle. So all you have to do is put your fingers down by your hip bones and a little bit inside. And you're going to try to think of pulling your belly button into your spine and making those muscles real tight, okay? You should feel them pop up to your fingers. These six-pack muscles should be relaxed. So you try it again, belly to spine, feel that muscle, and it should just get hard under those fingers and relax. You can even cough to make it activate, go or laugh, either works well. And again, you should just feel those muscles pop into those fingers, okay? Really important when you're lying here, again, ribs should be down and controlled, core should be engaged, and you should be able to be nice and straight. No ribs out, no arching, no pelvic tilt, okay? So after you figure out how to engage those muscles, I want you to work on the shoulder mobility with the muscles. So you're gonna put your arms in the air, keep your core tight, keep your ribs down and controlled, and you're gonna let your arms go overhead as far as they can with all of this as stable as possible, okay? So if you do this, you think you have good shoulder mobility, but you don't. You've got to really control the ribs and then let the shoulders go back and try to get nice and straight. Again, it's like doing a handstand, but on the ground in perfect position, okay? Make sure your hands are facing each other and go ahead and do that. Keep the core tight and practice that position. If that's super easy for you, go on a mat and let the arms go beyond the mat. But you really want to try to open those shoulders as best as you can to get shoulder mobility and core stability, okay? For injuries, the most important thing is proximal stability for distal mobility. So if you're tight here and you've got nice control here, then you can move your body parts well. If not, you're going to end up hinging from certain spots and overusing areas that you don't have control on, okay? Another important core exercise that you guys can do while that belly button to spine is activated, you could just keep that position and lift one knee up and back down, lift the other knee up and back down, all right? Again, seems super easy, but it's not if you do it right, because you have to maintain core stability, okay? So I want all of you guys to try that. Do about 3 sets of 10, 3 times a day, and make sure you're able to keep the ribs controlled, no ribs out, belly controlled, nice, tight, deep muscles, and a good position of your back, okay? So a lot of you guys also have very weak glutes, and that's a big part of preventing injuries, is having a butt muscle that works correctly. So again, you might have really nice muscles that look strong, but a lot of times we over-engage our quads and our hip flexors and tend to under-engage the glutes. So a really good exercise to help fire those muscles is frogs. So you lie on your belly, bend your knees, keep your knees a little bit apart, flex your feet, heels together, and no arching in the back. Try to tilt that butt under, and then squeeze your heels real tight together and relax. You should only feel these muscles here working, okay? Again, tilt your butt under, squeeze your heels together, hold it 10 seconds, feel the butt muscles, and relax, okay? If you can get your butt muscles to fire correctly, when you do all of your jumping and leaping, you're gonna have a better power source to jump, okay? You can also do some reverse clams. So you're gonna go ahead, put this knee, wrong way. Put this knee up in front of you, this knee behind. So you're kind of like 90-90 position, bent here. This knee behind you is bent as well. Lift the back leg up and back down. up, and back down. So this is frogs, and it's gonna help, again, activate the butt muscles. And if you have a good activated butt, it's gonna help with injury prevention, okay? Great. 3 sets of 10. Next exercise that we really recommend is to start to open up your hips. Sometimes, if you can't have good hip mobility and flexibility of your hip flexors, that butt isn't gonna fire. So if you're like this, which is a very common position for gymnasts, then you're always gonna overuse these muscles, underuse these muscles. Again, that's gonna cause back problems, hip problems, knee problems, all the way up the chain. So what I want you to do is work on stretching your hip flexors out, okay? Best way to do this, a lot of times gymnasts, we do this, we arch your back, but the best way to do this is to tilt your butt under and really open that hip, squeeze that core muscle we just taught you about. Keep your ribs down, open that hip up nicely, and just stay there, okay? Hold that 30 seconds 3 times, and you should be able to squeeze the butt when you're doing it too. So hips under, core engaged, butt engaged, open that hip to get flexibility and relax, okay? So now, you should do this straight in front of you, out to the side, and all the way out to the side. All 3 of these positions. This goes here, tilt your butt under, open that hip flexor, really, really, really get a good stretch and relax. Do it this way, and I'll show you from here. Tilt your butt under, open that hip flexor, and relax, okay? If you can get your hip flexors to be nice and open and stretched out, then when you set for a gymnastic skill, you're gonna use your butt and you're gonna be able to have a nice, good set. If you have tight hip flexors and your butt's not working well, which is the norm for gymnasts, you're gonna end up setting like here and using your back, okay? So these need to open. Very, very, very important. I encourage you guys to foam roll your hip flexors, to tennis ball. You can go ahead and use a little tennis ball right in here every day and lie on it and roll around. All right? And stretch your quads, okay? So let me show you how to do that. A lot of times, gymnasts stretch their quads like this and they're arched and it's really not doing as much as you should be doing. What we recommend for injury prevention is to get your knee like this on a mat, okay? And then go ahead and stretch your quads. This position is going to keep your pelvis under and it's going to give you a much, much, much better stretch, okay? Right there. So like we said, this is going to help in terms of opening up your hip flexors, getting good mobility through your quads, and this position is better for your gymnast than on the ground. Okay. So next exercise we suggest is to work on setting for skills and for gymnastics. So we already talked about opening up our hips, squeezing our core, and squeezing our butt. So you want to go butt back, butt up, squeeze under, and then arms overhead. Okay? Butt back, butt up, squeeze under, squeeze your butt, squeeze your core, and arms overhead. Just like that. Now, all of these exercises might look simple, but if you do them right, then it's actually going to be hard for you. Because a lot of people can't open up their hips correctly, can't engage their core or their glutes correctly, and can't get their shoulders right over their head. So that's what you want to work on. 3 sets of 10, okay? When it gets really easy, you can add some weights to it, but really, my goal for injury prevention is to work on form and making sure that every muscle is engaging correctly. All right. Another exercise that we want to work on with you guys, which we think is really important, is soft elbows. Okay. Gymnasts you're weight-bearing athletes. And because of that, you use your elbows just as much as people use their knees. So if we're always like this and hyperextending our elbows in a handstand, in any kind of position on bars, you're going to put a lot of pressure on some areas of the elbows, and that's why we tend to get some elbow injuries or ulnar collateral ligaments, okay? So for gymnasts, very important that you end up having soft elbows in this position, okay? Not hyperextending. You want to make sure your elbow creases face each other. Push through your scapula and work on that position and hold it. So let me show you this here too. No hyperextended elbows. Keep them soft, push through, and then go ahead and hold it. Okay? You could do it in this position. Once that's really, really simple, you could take your knees off and do it like this. And remember everything we talked about before. Nice tight core, ribs in, flat back, and hold that 10 seconds 10 times. Okay? Great. Okay. Next exercise for gymnasts, which is really important, is working on mobility of their wrists. So right now, you guys aren't in the gym, you're not tumbling as much, so your wrists are going to get really tight, and a lot of you already have tight wrists. So we recommend doing some wrist mobility exercises. So you're going to take your hand and you're going to put it right underneath the crease of the wrist, and you're going to put some pressure into there, and you're going to lean forward and come back. Lean forward and come back. Okay? I'll show you from this angle. Put your hand in here, push, lean forward, and come back. All right. So every day, I want you to do that too. You got to work on wrist mobility just as much as you're working on flexibility and stability. Okay? Another mobility exercise that we want you guys to do is for your ankles. So if gymnasts have really decreased ankle mobility, they can't squat as well, jump as well, and it ends up putting a lot more pressure on the Achilles, through the knees. So you want to work on some of your ankle exercises too. So you're going to put a TheraBand underneath the bones of your ankles. Okay? Good. And then go ahead and lean forward and come back. And lean forward and come back. All right? So this is helping get some mobility through your ankle, keeping that good arch in your foot. And every day, you should work on this too. Great. Okay? Another important exercise for gymnasts is toe mobility. So just like we talked about with the ankles, if you don't have good mobility through different joints, it's going to cause an injury up and down the chain. So if you don't have good toe movement like this, when you go into a releve, you're going to end up sickling out into your ankles, or you're not going to be able to go right up into a releve correctly, again, causing issues up the chain. So every day, put this in front, toe underneath, and go ahead and lean back and try to get some motion of that toe. Okay, lean back, get some motion of that toe. Okay, you can do that 3 sets of 10, 3 times a day as well. All right, good. Okay, so we talked a little bit about flexibility, mobility, stability, the elbows staying soft, making sure that your core is engaged and your hips are open. So all of those exercises, I think, are ones that you should really be focusing on for injury prevention. We always recommend to continue on core exercises like planks and side planks and making sure you're doing that every day. When you're doing core exercises, please, or plank exercises, please make sure that you are straight and you're not rounded. This is a normal gymnast position. We're trying to get you out of that. If you can get proper body position in everything you do, then you're going to end up being a much healthier gymnast, okay? So forward planks in that position, as long as you can be, no rounded, no arched. You want to be flat and long with core engaged and ribs in, okay? Same thing with the side plank. You want to be as open as possible, hips in line with shoulders, in line with feet, okay? No rounded back. Open that upper back. That's super important for all of you. All right? Both sides. You guys can do that for a minute on both sides. All right, I'm going to take a water break for a second. Check my clock. All right. And in addition to all of those exercises, I want you then again to stand up and retry your handstand in a standing position, because after you do everything, I want to make sure that you practice it again. Make sure that your ribs are down, your core is engaged, your butt is tight, and your arms are over your head. I'll do it this way. All right? No arching, no ribs out. Just like what your coaches tell you, go ahead and work on it in the position of standing or kneeling, okay? The more you work on that, the better your handstand's gonna be, okay? So, few other, I think I was seeing some questions throughout. Someone was saying back stretches and hip stretches. I think I got a couple hamstring stretches in there. So I do want to show you a few hamstring stretches as well, because for gymnasts, we tend to think we have really flexible hamstrings, but again, we don't do it correctly. So all of us should sit really tall like this, butt out, so not rounded. I just want to get you in this position first. Okay, butt out, feet flexed, and you'll already feel it. A lot of you are already going to feel it just like this if you sit up tall with your sit bones touching the ground instead of underneath you. But then you can definitely add a stretch like that. All right, sit up tall, and then you're going to tilt your leg out and tilt your leg in. Tilt your leg out and tilt your leg in. Okay, great. You also can do that lying down, same thing. Flex your foot, arch your back, so stick your butt that way, not this way. Make sure that you've got some space here. Flex your foot and roll the leg out and in, out and in, out and in. Okay, great. Oh, okay. I saw someone say anything for plantar fasciitis. So plantar fasciitis is really important with the position of your feet. If you guys, which we talked about earlier, if you tend to roll in like this, you're going to end up having more pressure on the plantar fascia, and it's going to cause some injuries all the way up through into the Achilles and all of that. So what you should work on for that is go ahead, arch those feet up and we call it doming. So you want to create an arch and even like scrunch your toes along the ground a little bit and hold that and relax. Scrunch your toes and hold that. And then as you're holding that, try to just balance on one leg and keep that good arch stability. Okay? Same thing. All right. Somebody said, what if you don't have an arch? Everybody can have an arch. That is a muscle just like the rest of your body.